Hello and welcome to the Marketing for What Matters podcast double click segment. This is for episode number 22 with my colleague here, Carly Petrovic, and filmmaker, host of The Kindness Within: A Journey to Freedom, a brilliant film that we believe everyone should take an opportunity to watch. Available now on Amazon Prime for free for members of Amazon Prime. And we have some really exciting news to come out of the gates with that Leon just shared with us this week. But first, Leon, would you mind introducing yourself and taking us on a brief little introduction to why you created this film?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in London, was working in a brokerage firm in London, in the city. Kind of had everything you could ever want, but on the inside, I had nothing you would want. But no one knew because I was wearing a mask, the psychological type, not the COVID-19 type. And to cut a very, very long story short, because you told me to be short, I quit my job and I started to travel around the world relying on kindness. One of the things I did was I bought a vintage yellow motorbike and drove it from Los Angeles all the way around the world back to LA. And had no money, just was relying on the generosity of people just like you. Fast forward a little bit further, I was having a dark night of the soul because I thought that if I received everything that I'd ever wanted, which was, let's say, a little bit of fame, 15 minutes, speaking engagements, all of these lovely things, that I would be the man that I always wanted to be. But I realized pretty quickly once I received those things that that wasn't the case. And I found myself in my bed up in Hollywood, writing a suicide note, which obviously I did not act on. I ended up calling my therapist at 11 o'clock at night, and fortunately he picked the phone up. And the next morning, I found myself in a bookshop. I randomly saw the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And in it, he said, and literally, I just found this random paragraph as well: if you reveal God to me, I will follow you anywhere. And there was something about that quote that touched me very profoundly. And I wasn't thinking about the God that lives up in the sky. I was thinking about the universal energy of love, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, that lives in all of us and lives in everything. And I decided that I would go to India to look for God, and I wouldn't return until I found him. That's a very short version of 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, Carly, so what we did beyond the interview here, Leon, is because we were so touched by this story, and I feel like it's another way to broadcast our mission here at Peaceful Media. We went just a little bit extra here to create a series of commercials that we cut together from the original podcast interview that we can use to help promote this film, because it's in our bones here at Peaceful Media, to share the message of love more, play more, and do more good. And you've certainly done that. And Carly is our non-technically known as the writer of stuff, and one of our messaging geniuses here, who thinks about how do we get the DNA of your core values and the purpose of your product or service. In this case, it's a film. How do we get that not only out to the marketplace via tactical things, but also how do we convey the energy of you and this film and what you're setting out to do? So, Carly, would you mind sharing just a little bit about how you consume this material? What was your process for coming up with what we're going to show on screen here shortly, which is a messaging brief that we'll be using to help promote this film?
Sure thing. So the thing I started with was the podcast interview between the two of you because I wanted to get a sense of how are we talking about this film, right? And I wanted this interview, these questions that Jason you were giving to Leon and Leon was giving these very vulnerable, heartfelt answers. I wanted that to actually guide the messaging. And then I went and looked at the film, watched the film start to finish because it's one thing to kind of watch it and have my own interpretations, but what a really successful messaging brief does and messaging materials do, in my opinion, are they amplify the voice that is already there, and they talk about the work in the way that the creator of the work would talk about it. So what are the things that I'm hearing again and again? What are the themes that are coming forward from the podcast interview and the film, and just these conversations, and the beautiful commercials that are wonderful wonderful video editor Scotty does, and with help from our YouTube guru Ian, right? What are these saying again and again, and what parts did they feel were most impactful from these interviews and that resonated with them? Because already we have a small audience of like what is connecting with people. So all I did essentially were to take these same messages that we're hearing again and again, these things that are coming up and resonating with people, and put them in one place in that messaging brief. And you'll see that as we go through, we kind of have an overview, some key messages, and then I went directly to the commercials and said, here is how I would position these commercials on social media. These are the captions I would use. And there's definitely places where we can kind of pull and plug and play with different places we want to send people to watch the film, and different messages we want to amplify in terms of where people can find the film, where the film is now, as distribution expands. So there's opportunities to kind of play around with the copy, but the overarching theme is like, let's take the words that Leon shared and put them out there for everyone to see and feel and resonate with for themselves.
And Leon, this is something we talk a lot about. We this is something we speak a lot about with our brands. Is developing these messaging briefs. My understanding is that right now there isn't a central source of truth when it comes to um, authentic communication that you feel comfortable with the communications team sharing out with the world. Is, is that correct? Have you had brainstorms or conversations around the messaging brief in the past?
I did once take a marketing course at school, but that was
Hmm.
25 years ago. So
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure what marketing brief means, but I'm sure everyone who's listening
yeah,
does.
great. I'm gonna actually show it. Yeah, it's. Yeah, let me just show versus tell. Eh? So usually these messaging briefs go into a big, beautiful deck. In this case, Leon, just give you a nice little Google Doc here. And essentially, what it's doing is it's guiding us is as if you had like 5 pages worth of material that helps convey, what's the short summary of what this film is about, why it was created, and then key messages that can be distributed on your behalf. So when your social media managers are going to post, they can, in many cases, copy and paste or riff on central themes that we've identified. And it might be useful. This is the first time you're seeing this, but it might be useful just to hover on a few of these that will resonate with your audience.
Yeah,
You've
okay,
been,
I understand. So look, the first one you have up there, the story is universal. It's so that word universal is something that I drove the editors mad with. I kept on saying to them, you need to make this universal. We need to make this universal. We need to make this so that when someone sees it, even if they haven't felt the depths of pain where they have been writing a suicide note, they have felt pain and they are watching this movie and they are watching you, but me, but really they are watching themselves. So universal, universal, universal. I like that. That's exactly what we tried to do. And I hope we succeeded, because if we didn't, then we failed.
yeah, I certainly felt it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Facing
Yes.
your inner struggles can be challenging, but it's the only way to find freedom. Yes, wow. It looks like whoever wrote this has watched the movie. To me, the whole point of the movie, as well as being universal, but really the whole point was freedom, was emotional freedom, was finding a way to be emotionally free. Now, does that mean that I thought that if you watched the movie, all of a sudden you would become enlightened? No, I'm not saying that. But what I did want for people is to watch the movie and have a moment, maybe an epiphany, something something stirred inside where you're like, maybe there's another way to live. So freedom was really, really important piece of the puzzle for us. And facing your inner struggles can be challenging. Of course, that's why few people do it. But if you don't do it, as you are here, you will not be free. And that's just pretty much guaranteed. You have to face yourself in order to free yourself. There is hope. Whew. Another one. There is definitely hope. And the movie, we wanted people to finish the movie feeling hope. And it's so interesting because I don't want to give too much away, and I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to kind of speak subtly here, I hope. You know, the opening, you could be like, there's no hope, but we were so conscious of things like that we changed the subtitle to A Journey to Freedom, which came up very quickly after some things I share at the beginning. And I also made the color of the graphics kind of pinkish mauve, again, to give hope. So throughout the entire film, when we were editing it, we were definitely thinking about that word hope. The film is a love letter to India. Wow, that's a good one. I've never seen this document, which but it is a love letter to India. It is absolutely a love letter to India. India is a magical place, an amazing place. Yes, there's a lot of dichotomies, right? There's a lot of poverty and there's a lot of wealth, but it is at its core a magnificent place and somewhere where people have to go. And I wanted the film. That's why I made it very clear when it came to the coloring of the film. And if you've noticed when you watch the film, the color was done very, very specifically, because I wanted people to watch this movie and feel like they were actually in India. And I hope we managed to pull that off too.
Carly, you can speak to that better than I can. I'm following in your guys' footsteps with the travels to India.
Yeah. I mean, I've only been to India once, definitely need to go back. But one of the things that people often say, and is I think very well reflected in what Leon's sharing here, is it's unlike anywhere else. It's like there is a deep spirituality that runs through people. It's everywhere. Everyone practices it in some form. It's just like internalized in a way that is completely foreign to most of us in the West. And so, I very much felt that through the film. It's like, because one of the things that's so beautiful about India, in addition to the spirituality, is how colorful it is. Everything is vibrant. It's like you get to some places in the US and it's like all these new houses that are all the same shade of like white and gray and tan and whatever, right? And that's just not the case in India. Everything is bursting with color. So I love that was an important part of the way the film was showcased.
Yeah, bursting with color. I like that.
Yeah, this is there's an exciting announcement coming up at the end of this segment with regards to how we can continue to distribute this love letter to India in the country that inspired so much of this beautiful cinematography and footage and story. I might be giving too many hints away there for those of you who are hanging on the edge of your seats. But let's go through here a little bit more. We have headlines. I'm going to loop back around. We don't need to read each of these per se, but if there's anything in here that really stands out to you, we can certainly call it out.
On his quest to embody spirituality, Leon Logothetis found kindness for himself. The reason why I'm sharing that one is because of the word embody. And it's sometimes easy to read a book or watch a movie and feel it to a certain degree, but until we fully embody it, and I'm not saying that I'm fully embodied, I'm a fully embodied spiritual being, I'm not, or that I'm, always kind, I'm not. But that word embody is such a powerful word, because if you can embody it, you become it, really, right? And that's really what the word embody means. But it's a goal. It's certainly my goal to embody it to the best of my ability. And more often than not, I do, right? And then there are times when I don't, and I'm like, that's interesting. Maybe it's time that stopped being mean to whoever you're being mean to, um, and try and embody what you speak of, what you share, what you try and inspire people to do.
Yeah. Carly, it might be why you have 1,000 hours of yoga teacher training, right?
Yeah, because like embodiment, as Leon said, is the hardest part, right? Like it's taking all this knowledge that you have, all the things that you know you're supposed to do, and actually integrating that into your being and then living from that place. And what Leon's saying, right? It's like the beauty of that is that you start to notice when you're not in it so that you can do whatever you need to get back in it. Because there are monks that'll tell you, like they're not in bliss constantly either. Like they're human like the rest of us, but they're very quick at noticing when they're not in that peace, in that kindness, and then finding their way back to it quickly. And I think that's the beauty of the journey that we continue to be on when we leave India or we leave like the retreat, and then we try to bring this back to our real lives and live it every day. So I love that that's connecting.
Beautifully said. There's another one here that I think is really important. The journey to changing everything begins with a single step. So people often say to me, like for example, with the Kindness Diaries, which was the show where I went around the world in the yellow motorbike, they're like, well, I can't just quit my job and start traveling around the world. I can't just give people free things. Then people say to me, well, I can't just get up and go to India and find God. I can't do that. And I get that. And was my step began 20 years ago. A single step of watching a movie and deciding to quit my job. That was my first step. And then I kept on making steps. So after watching the movie, maybe your first step will be to text a friend and say, look, I'm suffering. Can we chat? Maybe it'll be to pick up the phone and call a therapist. Maybe who knows what it will be. But that first single step takes you to the magic of living your most beautiful life. But it's one small step. Go to a library and pick up a book about depression. That doesn't cost anything. And who knows where that leads?
All right, so let's cruise down. So it sounds like there's a bunch of headlines that can be used. What's nice about this, Leon, and anybody else who's watching, I'm going to stress the importance of a messaging brief like this. We can start to imagine a campaign, whole campaigns surrounding each of these as pillar content, as main themes that we're going to go and express out through all these different platforms. It's helpful for a lot of content creators and brands who are trying to, fill the black hole of social media, YouTube, et cetera, to have frameworks for making sure that each of your brand's, pillar message is conveyed. Right. So when we go back through this, these key messages become sort of the hub of many pieces of individual content spokes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
From an SEO standpoint, now we have those main themes. From a YouTube, it could be a whole playlist around this story is universal. When we get down to a section further on this document about a UGC campaign, a user generated content campaign, we may even use these as sub hashtags, right? Sub hashtags that people can use to contribute to this UGC campaign. So I love this. It gives you that clarity. It also just allows for other people to speak on behalf of you, i.e., the brand. And that's my pitch for every brand having a Carly and a messaging brief like this available to them in their drive, or ideally in their brand book that gets handed off with all the other things that are in a brand identity, such as logo, color schemes, photography, etc. Okay, so the rest of this, Leon, is down in the weeds. Someone has caught that headline or saw one of those commercials and has clicked into the captions on Instagram or clicked into the description on YouTube, and now they're starting to hear more of your story. And we did notice that there's you seem to have a pattern of like a one-liner. And to us, this is like the person who reads the rest of the article, right? They saw the headline, they saw the subheadline. Now you got them hooked. Now, how do we engage with them in that? How do we get this embodied, right? Beyond a headline or an initial idea. And so these are examples of how we would lay in those captions as we go to promote these commercials for the film. So I feel like it's going to be important for you and your communications team to read through this so that we are truly in lockstep and integrated with how you like to communicate the film, so that we're not off on the brand voice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it for the first time. It doesn't seem like you're off, but yeah, definitely send it to me.
You bet.
Jason, all these connect to the commercials, so maybe this is a good point to watch one of the commercials and give the caption that's connected.
You got it. So we produced, everybody can see my screen here? Okay, yeah. We produced 7 commercials, and I know, Leon, I think you had a chance to watch each of these and had some commentary on them.
Yeah, they're all excellent. So whichever one you want to show.
Let's go here. Finding help. Carly, maybe you can pick the next one. I can see which headline and theme this attaches to.
Everyone's journey is different.
Right.
My first step was to call my therapist.
Right.
And then the next step was to go to the bookstore. And then the next step was to get onto the plane. You don't have to do that. You could text your friend and say, hey, I'm depressed. Can we chat? You can go onto Amazon if you have anxiety and buy a book about anxiety. If you need support, you can call a hotline. If you need...
Go to Amazon Prime Video and search for kindness with
Well, there you go. You could do that too. I can't say that, but you can. Every journey starts somewhere. And your journey doesn't have to be to get on a plane to go to India. Your journey can be to call up a therapist and make an appointment to start the process of helping yourself to go from broken to not broken, right?
Yes. Baby steps are so powerful.
Just take that first step.
Yeah.
Just do it. I know that's what Nike says, right? But literally, just do it. Just force yourself to make that one thing. Like, force yourself to send that one text to someone safe. I'm currently crying. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Or maybe you don't want to go that far. You want to just say, hey, I'm not having a good day. Can you chat? That one step is all it takes sometimes to change everything.
The Kindness Within, A Journey to Freedom, now available on Amazon Prime.
All right. What do you guys like about that one?
I like that it's just simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not making it all that complicated. It's a simple thing that anyone can understand.
Yeah, and I also really resonate with what Leon says in that about like forcing yourself, because I think sometimes people get this negative connotation around like, oh, well, if I have to force it, then it's, it's not meant to be or whatever. But really, when we're doing hard things, most of the time we're not like psyched up to do them. We have to force ourselves to take that first step. So I love the way that's emphasized, that like taking the first step can be simple, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's just super easy. Sometimes it does take a lot of, internal effort to get that motivation to do it.
Throughout all of these, Leon, the thing that strikes me is how authentic you are in here. Like, there isn't a hype person. You even called me off the marketing and promotion ledge there, when I was like, or if you have Amazon Prime, it's definitely like a little infomercial moment there for me. But you come across as someone who's earnestly interested in helping society throughout this entire episode. The entire episode does that, but also these commercials as well. I'll play one more.
From what I understand of you and of this film, it's not just your personal quest for relief from grief and depression and the angst and the separation you have felt, probably loneliness as well. There's something that transcends your personal quest with this film. Would you be able to speak to that?
100%. I mean, the movie is technically about me, but it's really about you.
Right.
And everyone who's sitting here watching this or listening to this, right? So I just happen to be the vessel of the individual who had the issues that we'll talk about, and then went out to find freedom. But that's universal. There isn't a single human being listening to this or watching this that hasn't had an issue and that hasn't wanted to find a way to be free. We all have. So although the movie's about me, it's really about you. That's what we wanted to make very clear. And you.
Yeah.
And you.
The Kindness Within, A Journey to Freedom, now available on Amazon Prime.
My sense of humor comes through sometimes. Sorry about that. And you. All right. So, yeah. So we're going to be using these. We're going to be posting these throughout YouTube, throughout Instagram. The question becomes, so we have this exciting announcement to make. And part of my question overarching is like, where does this go from here? So you're going to be making this big announcement. How does this thing get more legs than it currently has, right? We want a billion plus people watching this film because we truly believe in it, right? And its ability to heal and help people. And so I do want to come back around to the concept of a UGC campaign that perhaps gets explored, perhaps doesn't. But first, Leon, would you be willing to make the announcement? Obviously, this won't be seen until the day has come, but it feels like an appropriate time.
You're putting me on the spot, right? But it's fine. No, it's all good. So basically, the movies, a lot of people have said to me, oh, well, we don't have Prime. We want to watch the movie, but we don't have Prime. So as of May 22nd, it's now going to be available on YouTube as well. So if you haven't been able to watch it because you don't have Prime, you can now watch it. So now there's no excuse. The first step is to watch it. And who knows what happens beyond that.
So I'm sure, you're going to want to follow Leon on his Instagram there, the kindness guy, right? What's the best way for people to interact with you, Leon?
The best way is through Instagram at the kindness guy, and I respond to all messages. So if you send me a message, you're going to get one in response.
Very unique. And again, speaks to your ethos and ideals, of authenticity and, the sort of making yourself available to the world. You have a large following.
I try.
So we started to explore this a little bit on the episode, Leon, and I didn't feel like I totally stuck the landing with it, but it feels to me like, there's most of your Instagram content is geared around, telling stories of kindness. And they aren't necessarily stories that you've captured, but you've curated, a profile that is designed to be the hub of anecdotal examples of kindness out in the world. And then we have interspersed, promotions for the film or clips from the film. Could you just speak a little bit to your approach to your profile, and then I'll spin up some ideas for our UGC campaign.
Do you know, it's interesting. No one's ever asked me that question in such a way. And I'm just going to answer it honestly. I'm a very private person. And you would say, what are you talking about? You're a private person. You're on Netflix, you write books, you do a film where you tell people that you're suicidal. I mean, you're not a private person, but I am. It's weird. I can do it. I can go out there, make films, do things, but I'm still private. And social media, is the antithesis of being private. So I try to kind of share good stuff whilst also remaining somewhat private, but I also at times have to share stuff about myself. But I don't know. It's weird. I think I need to go to a psychologist to understand that the kindness guy is saying he likes to be private, yet he does movies that tell everyone about his whole life. So it's a bit weird. Something's going on.
I can tell you that honestly, Leon, I do the same with my newsletter. But the thing is, like, I have control, so people get in as far as I allow them to get in, and I feel like that's right. Like, you share the things that you feel comfortable sharing, letting people in, but you still want to have a private life. I think that's the beauty of what you're creating, right? Is like you're sharing things that will help people, but you're also keeping your inner world sacred.
Indeed. Well said. You just saved me $250 on a psychologist. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. All that inner work I had to do on it.
All right, so I alluded to this. We'll wrap with this. We'll conclude with this concept. This is a more fully thought through concept for how you can build some more momentum for the film. This isn't a unique concept, but it's using user generated content to create a sort of flywheel, right? So that you aren't the only person who's having to create content, curate content, and oftentimes pay for content, right? Invest in building the content, but rather giving people a container in which they can start to participate with your key messaging. This is what I was speaking to earlier, where because now we have these core messages, right? These key messages identified, those could become pillars for content that's still within the kindness within hashtag, but they are sort of the framework from which people go and create their own content that helps you tell the story in their own ways. And if anybody is watching this who's totally unfamiliar with UGC, you're probably seeing it all the time. It's what the influencer marketing world is born from is people telling their stories of how this touched them, or telling their own version of that key core message, right? For example, we could ask your audience to participate in this, your story of kindness within challenge, if you will. And specifically, we're doing a week that's dedicated to a love letter to India. And everyone submits with that hashtag their own version of a love letter. Sorry about that. A love letter to India, right? And all you again using that kindness within hashtag so that it's all curated within your brand world and connects back to the film. But now you have you have a limitless opportunity for new versions of that key message to proliferate without you doing all the heavy lifting. How does that land for you, Leon? Does that scare the crap out of you to think that people would be sort of ambassadors for this message, or does that excite you to know, like, hey, like this is not just my love letter to India. I have created this space in which everyone can create their love letter.
No, that's magnificent. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? You get one
Right.
person that's touched by it, and they tell two people, and those two people hopefully are touched by it, and they tell five people, etc., etc., etc. The whole point of the movie was twofold. One was to heal myself, and two was to help to heal you, if possible. That's it. So what a beautiful thing.
Right. Especially if it's has a higher efficacy in today's the modern social media world, right? Like we see 4 times higher click-through rates and 50% lower cost per click compared to traditional advertisements. Now I know these aren't necessarily advertisements, but it's still a highly effective way of creating that engagement that you need and want for this film to be seen by as many people as possible, right?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't realize how much work you guys have done on this, and I have a lot of gratitude. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we care. So yeah, I'm going to include this brief, or I'm going to compare these two things together. We've sort of outlined a campaign that may work. And to me, again, these are interconnected. It starts with that messaging brief that was created from the episode material, but the messaging brief then creates that framework for additional campaigns. UGC is just an example of a campaign. I think that one has a lot of legs. If we, sort of crowd the forces, the marketing and communications team forces, where you've created a movement instead of just there's a film, and then there's a movement that's spawned out of this, out of that film. So, any final thoughts from anybody? I hope there are lots of filmmakers and content creators just like you, Leon, who are watching this and start thinking about creating their own messaging briefs. But any final thoughts from anybody here?
I would say that both of you clearly have an abundance of kindness within.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to promote this film in some very small way, and get the message out for people to be moved by it in the same way that we were.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed this double click segment. Please go watch the full episode. We'll have some links up in the top right or left, whatever that means in YouTube world. And make sure to follow, Leon, at the kindness guy on Instagram. Great feed. And at Peaceful Media as well, where we'll be promoting these commercials and helping getting more eyeballs and visibility in all of these new countries where the kindness within a journey to freedom will be seen. All right, y'all. I'm Jam at Peaceful Media. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Peace.